The kids are going to put together this
I got
website, and we also
Recording.
Stop. Here you go.
I understand you run your own law firm. How long have you been in practice for yourself?
I've been in practice for myself almost 2 years. June 1st of 2009 was when I actually went into practice for myself, but I've been an attorney for 4 years, but I've owned my own firm for 2.
Okay, and what law do you practice?
I practice primarily criminal defense, but I also practice family law, which involves divorces and child custody and time sharing and things like that. But the majority of what I do is criminal defense work.
Okay, and why did you choose to go into this field of law?
Well, I started my career as a prosecutor, so I was actually on the other side of things in criminal work when I first graduated law school. So I was kind of putting the bad guys away, for lack of a better phrase. I really enjoy criminal law. I think it's very interesting. I think it's very exciting. I like trial work, which means that I get to be in front of a judge and a jury, and I get to, I don't know if you watch law shows on TV, but that's what I get to do, and I think that's much more fun and entertaining than transactional law, which would be just like drafting contracts and real estate transactions and things like that. So I liked the trial aspect of it, to where I could, put on a show and dance, so to speak, in front of a jury and really fight for a cause. And since I used to be on the other side, you can't do that privately. You have to work for the government to be a prosecutor. But I wanted to go into business for myself, so I just chose to do the defense end of things. And I still get to be up in front of a jury, but instead of trying to put people away for life, I'm defending their rights. And so I just find it very fascinating.
What is a typical day on the job for you?
Typical day. I get into work probably about 8:30, and I gather my cases that I have on the calendar that morning, and I walk across the street to work. My office is right across from the downtown courthouse, and I go to whatever courtroom I need to go to that day. I represent people on both misdemeanors and on felonies, so I represent people on anything from a petty theft all the way up to first-degree murder. It depends on what I have on that day, and I go before particular judges, and I either get a pass date or we set something for trial. If somebody wants to contest what's actually, what they're being charged with, then we have to go to trial, and I'll set that for trial, and just kind of handle little business in the courtroom in the morning. Then I come back to my office, and I'll do a couple of things in the afternoon. I'll either do consultations, so I'll have meetings with potential new clients to try and get them to bring business into my firm, or I'll do what's called depositions, which means in my existing cases I will place witnesses under oath, and I will ask them questions about what happened in the case against my client as I try to form a defense. Or I'll do jail visits. I'll visit some of my clients actually who are incarcerated, so that we can try to establish a defense for them.
Where did you receive your education for the job
that I now have? I got my undergraduate degree, so my bachelor's degree after high school was at the Florida State University in Tallahassee. But then I went to law school after my undergraduate degree here in Jacksonville at Florida Coastal School of Law, that's located in Bay Meadows.
What specific degree or certificate that qualifies? Wait, no, blah, blah, blah. What is your specific degree or certificate that qualifies you for the job?
It's abbreviated as a JD, kind of like a doctor would be an MD, a lawyer would be a JD. It stands for Juris Doctor. So essentially, I guess I'm a doctor of law. But to receive that, you would have to have a bachelor's degree, which generally takes about 4 years at a university or a college. And then beyond that, law school generally takes about 3 years to receive your JD. And then after that, you actually have to sit for a 2-day exam called the Florida Bar Exam. And then you have to pass that to become, to have the ability at that point to practice law in Florida.
Okay, so
it's a lot.
What types of jobs or opportunities are available in your profession as of right now?
As of right now, the job market in the legal community in Jacksonville has become a bit saturated. there's a law school in Gainesville, there's the UF Law School, and then there's one here in Jacksonville. So the job market is kind of steep right now, but there's definitely opportunities in criminal law, either at the state attorney's office as a prosecutor, which is what I started as, or at the public defender's office, or in private practice if you want to, if you want to work in private practice but not necessarily for yourself, you could work as an associate, meaning you would have a boss, but you wouldn't be working for the government. So, there are certainly opportunities out there, and just law in general, there's a bunch of different types of law that one could practice upon receiving their law degree, including teaching. You could even teach as an attorney. So.
Okay, so me going into high school as a student, are there any specific classes that you would recommend?
I would say that in high school there's not much that's geared specifically towards law, but what you really do need to be good at is critical thinking, analyzing things, reading and writing. There's a lot of reading and writing in law school. So any class, and not reading as in like literature, but more just critical thinking skills are very important. It's very important to be able to write well. So I would say in high school, at the high school level, I would focus on things like English, even creative writing, even though when you get into law school it's more analytical, but you really need to have the ability to think critically. So even in that regard, things like math classes are important. You wouldn't think that, in law, because a lot of times the person thinks of an attorney and they don't think of math, but you need to really be able to critically think about it.
What do you like most about your profession?
I love my profession. I will say that. It was a fantastic choice for me to go into. The thing I love the most about my profession would be, if I'm getting really specific, closing arguments in a trial. If I am able to get up there and look at a jury who I've been with for a couple of days and who I've, not really gotten to know, but really been able to speak to for a couple of days, and I can get up there and I can give a closing argument and really fight for the person next to me who might only be facing, probation, but they might also be facing life in the Florida State Prison. I find that so rewarding, and I find the responsibility so huge when I have a person's life in my hands that it just thrills me to no end. I love it. I love it.
Okay, what advice would you give me if I wanted to pursue like a profession like yours?
I would say believe you can do it. Truly. I know that sounds cheesy, but believe you can do it. It's going to be very hard. It's a lot of work, but if you keep your grades up, it all starts where you're sitting right now. It all starts in middle school. You get to high school, you keep those grades up in high school, that's going to dictate where you go to college. If you get into a really great college, even if you get into a college that's mediocre, still do well there. Because law schools are going to look at your undergraduate GPA, and then you're also going to have to take a test called the LSAT, and that score combined with your GPA and other extracurricular activities or things you may have been involved in with the community will be what admissions offices in law schools are looking for. And in college, you don't necessarily have to make your degree a specific thing. I wasn't pre-law in college. I wasn't political science. I was actually social work. So my degree in college was social work, but law schools will take any and all types of different degrees because they want a diverse group of people. And really anything you study in your undergraduate degree will in some way, shape, or form help you in law school. So.
Okay, so what does your law firm specifically provide? Like what do y'all do?
For my clients?
Yes.
Well, I'll break that down in two different ways. If I have someone come in because they've been charged with a crime, if they've been arrested for driving under the influence, or even if they've been arrested for murder, I've represented people who have been accused of murder. If their family comes in to me and wants to retain me, then I represent them throughout the course of that case. I am basically their mouthpiece in court. I am the person who fights for their rights. We're all entitled to the same rights under the Constitution, and I am able to assert those for that person who might not know what those rights are. If that person decides to plea the case out, meaning if they don't want to trial with a jury and a judge and all that, if they want to just try and reach a deal, so to speak, I facilitate that. I make that happen. I talk with the prosecutor, and I see if we can work something out. And if they want to go to trial, then I allow them to do that. It's their right to take anything that they want to trial, no matter how much I think they might lose, because I have taken cases to trial that I am pretty sure we would lose, but it's their right to do that. And so at that point I pick a jury. We try to make the jury as unbiased as possible. I ask if they have any bias towards my client, if they have problems with guns, in the event my client's been charged with a gun crime. And we pick a jury and we give opening statements. The state attorney's office has an opportunity to tell their side of the story. And then I get up and I have the ability to tell the jury our side of the story, meaning me and my clients. And at that point, the state puts on a case and I get to cross-examine witnesses, probably like you've seen, in movies or on TV. And the jury renders a verdict. The jury comes back either guilty or not guilty. That is pretty much, start to finish what I would do in criminal defense law. And then in family law, if somebody comes in and wants a divorce, from their spouse, or if they've already received a divorce and they need to amend something like child support, or if somebody, is moving away and so the child custody is going to change, then I help them with that, and that's more what I like to call transactional law, whereas criminal defense law is where you get to try things and you're actually up in front of a jury. So it's essentially in both types of law, I'm assisting people with their rights. I guess you could look at it like that too.
How does the law office of Kelly J. Bynum provide a benefit to the city of Jackson?
Oh, that's a good question. A benefit to the city would be that I am. Well, one, even though I take cases on a paid basis where somebody can come in and actually receive representation from me and pay me to retain me, what I also do is, no matter who you are, if you're charged with a crime, it doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank, you are allowed to have representation. That's a guaranteed right for all of us. So the poorest person on the street still has the right to, competent and really good legal counsel, same as the richest person on the street. So what my firm also offers to the city is, in the event somebody commits a crime with like 4 other people, the public defender's office, who normally is designated to represent people who can't afford attorneys on their own, they can only represent one person because there would be a conflict if they tried to represent 5 people. There would be people pointing fingers this way, and they couldn't represent everybody all at once. So what my firm elects to do is, even though I'm a private attorney who most of the time takes cases for money, sometimes I will take a case it's not a volunteer basis because I'll still be paid by the state, but I will take cases from people who would not otherwise be able to afford it. So I think in a sense, my firm offers to Jacksonville representation for those who might not otherwise be able to afford it, much like the public defender's office.
Okay, well, that's it for now. We enjoyed having you.
Oh, great. Wonderful. So glad to meet you. Can I ask you something? Is law something that any of you 3 are specifically interested in, or was it just kind of something that
I don't know
you may have been assigned to?
for them, but yes.
Really?
I do watch Law and Order.
Yeah.
And all that. And I just like defending people.
That's fantastic. Well, I brought, I don't have anything exciting, but I brought a couple of my business cards, and I also brought the flyer that goes out, if I can find it. Whenever people are arrested in Jacksonville, my firm sends out a flyer basically telling them what I could offer them. So this might also help you guys, in any sort of presentation or website that you're trying to create.